On a gray day in the quiet town of Jackson, where silence seemed to echo between the houses, Alan was preparing for another shift in his patrol. A rookie officer, facing the nuances of his uniform with some confidence, mixed his determination with a touch of youthful arrogance. Born and raised in the suburbs where old prejudices were whispered in the daily breeze, Alan carried this historical weight with him. But what he did not know was that this mundane day was about to turn into a life lesson. As he drove through the empty streets, wrapped up in his own thoughts, Alan could not foresee that he would cross paths with an unexpected protagonist. Cris Mateus, a man with black skin and a serene spirit, walked with a firm posture through the light fog, a result of his own achievements and battles. His path, shaped by years of justice and resilience, was about to intertwine with Alan's, where persistent racism would break the silence and transformation awaited just around the corner. With few people wandering, about every movement seemed amplified, gravitating towards an inexorable destiny. When Alan and Mateus encountered each other, the scene was already set, waiting to either cool tensions or warm hearts in learning and growth. Alan, although confident in his authority, was still unaware of the confrontation with a greater injustice, and Mateus, in the quiet of his walk, represented the undeniable strength of equality and diversity. The morning dawned in Jackson like any other, with its sky tinged in grays and its community wrapped in a persistent murmur of daily life and hopes for rain. Alan, preparing for his shift, strapped the vest to his body, feeling the weight of the authority he carried, although he was unaware of the power of the inner journeys he faced. The police routine in that small town was more of a rehearsed dance, with repeated steps where few nuances broke the daily monotony. The days here are always the same, but I still haven't finished understanding them, he thought, sometimes in search of comprehension. The young officer passed by the local cafe, waving to the familiar faces he encountered, many unaware that a layer of tension was about to come. As he delved into the echoing corners of his jurisdiction, his actions had yet to cross the line between latent prejudice and active injustice, but the challenges of transformation were on the horizon. Murici. Through the quiet and whispering streets of Jackson, the minds of the people were fertile grounds for veiled opinions about diversity and equality. Alan continued, regulating the pace of his patrol car, unaware that the hidden layers of the reality of this town would expose themselves to him abruptly. The eyes of those passing by could not foresee the intensity of the encounter that was unfolding silently, waiting for its transformative outcome. Gradually, Alan's path crossed with Mateus's at a quiet corner. The young officer, guided by an instinct steeped in decades of cultural prejudices, rolled down the window of the patrol car upon spotting Mateus. "Hey, you, where do you think you're going?" His words cut through the stifling air of the city. Mateus, a pillar of calm and dignity, stopped, surprised by the abrupt approach but unshaken, preparing for the dialogue. "Just heading to a meeting, sir," Mateus replied, his voice resonating with equal strength and tranquility. He carried with him years of overcoming challenges and an identity built on justice and respect. The tension between authority and dignity was palpable, but Mateus believed in transformation through dialogue. Understanding the impact of his words, he maintained a cordial tone while Alan surveyed the environment with a heavy gaze. In this, the thin line between strictness and compassion trembled, ready for a necessary refinement. But what Alan did not foresee was the depth of that casual interaction, a fork in the road where prejudice and equality confronted each other. Mateus, dressed in his well-kept clothes and robust dignity, represented much more than a mere passerby. He was a catalyst for change. The scene was set to illuminate the path of justice and empathy, with the town of Jackson as a silent spectator, to a narrative that would soon open the doors to understanding and mutual reconsideration. Mateus, walking calmly along the sidewalks of Jackson, was the elegant personification of resilience. born and raised under the rigid and honorable principles of a Catholic upbringing. He learned early on that true strength lay not only in the words of a Sunday sermon but in the daily actions of justice and humility. With each step, he displayed a confidence shaped by lived experiences, a reflection of the respect he both nurtured and earned. In responding to the officer, his voice carried the weight of truth within itself. "It is not my appearance that defines what I can achieve, but my actions," Mateus reflected to himself as he locked eyes with Alan in a combination of calmness and gentle challenge. For Mateus, finding beauty and equality in diversity came naturally, much like breathing. He was a pillar offering harmony amid the tension of social inequality that many still refuse to confront. His journey of personal transformation was a calm yet deep river, carrying lessons of tolerance and growth, not just for himself, but for anyone who crossed his path. That day, his silent mission continued, to inspire through example. The habits he instilled in his days treated everything with empathy. The challenge now lay in extending that wisdom to those who needed it most, like officers seeking justice, while sometimes unaware of how they forged their own identity. The interaction initiated by Alan quickly transformed into an unofficial interrogation. Mateus, holding his composure like a shield, listened attentively. To the officer's questions, "Where do you work? What kind of meeting is this?" Alan inquired, stripped of the subtleties that the interaction between dialogue and understanding required. The air around seemed to carry the weight of the scene, a palpable tension that transcended simple words hanging in the space. "Do?" Mateus, perceptive, knew that any wrong reaction could be interpreted as a provocation. "I have a business meeting," he reiterated calmly, as his eyes scanned the environment, cautious yet fearless. The disparity of power between them was clear, but it did not disturb the tranquil inner sea of Mateus, who recalled his mother and her philosophy of healing and dialogue to confront acts of discrimination. Aware that his response would be evaluated, under the veil of prejudice he chose to act with clarity. Alan, still eager in exploring his position, unaware of the silent struggle of empathy in the face of discrimination, did not realize that this brief confrontation would be his vessel for profound personal reevaluation. Each glance and enthusiastic posture from Mateus served as a mirror for Alan, reflecting elements in which he still needed to grow. At that moment, they were on opposite sides, but each furtive interaction, each exchanged word planted seeds of reflection that would slowly bloom in the drama of human growth. At the height of the tense dialogue, the patrol car's radio let out a loud crackle, interrupting the critical moment and unexpectedly illuminating the path to an unplanned conclusion. "We need all officers back at the station immediately," exclaimed the voice over the radio, bringing with it the urgency and relevance of larger issues, pulling away the disciplinary carrots from the intense dialogue. Alan felt a mix of relief and discomfort, knowing he had to obey the call. "Today is your lucky day, I guess," he said to Mateus, forcing a smile that did little to soften the heavy air of tension. Mateus simply nodded, knowing that additional words would only amplify the apparent imbalance of power. The abruptness of that cancellation was taken with more gravity than perhaps warranted, but the pulse in the air signaled the seriousness within the station. Amid the whirlwind of change, there was closure for those once trapped in hostility and mass surveillance. Like a girl spotting her ship on the horizon, the promise of something transformative lingered over the quickly resolved conflict. For Alan, imagining himself in comfort within the familiar operational environment, the real consequences awaited their resolution. As he sped toward the station, he temporarily pushed the situation with Mateus aside from the essence of a defeated struggle partner. Now the gears of change quietly adjusted to the indescribably rich setting of the station, where the future would soon unfold in unexpected forms. In the station, the buzz was constant, the atmosphere heavy with expectation and rumors about the new leadership. The urgent summons had brought a restlessness different from the routine challenges that Alan and his colleagues knew well. As everyone, gathered for the big reveal. The moment transformed the everyday setting into a commotion, a shadow of doubts and questions echoing among those present. The announcement of the new chief was at the heart of the conversation, where identity and power intertwined. Then, to Alan's astonishment, the new police chief entered the room with confidence and authority, competing with his own air of anonymity given to the notorious citizen of the town. It was Cris Mateus, the man who had recently figured mentally as a fleeting altercation in Alan's life. Mateus, dressed in the same impeccable suit as before, surveyed the station with the same calculating eyes that Alan had reserved for him. The surprise of the true identity of the newly introduced police chief was palpable, filling the space with hesitant agitation. In that fraction of a moment, the station, once dominated by predictable patterns, was filled with the unfathomable revelation that gradually processed the shimmering truth of the audacious reality. Mateus's identity, now in the spotlight, propagated the consequential waves that emerged in Alan and his recent past. The community, which had until then been sleeping in a state of automation, was slowly awakening to the diversity rooted in the authoritative arrival of Mateus, a new symbol of aspiration. Upon seeing Mateus enter the room, Alan was overwhelmed by a torrent of emotions. Confusion and shame mingled in his mind as the echo of every previous interaction with Mateus replayed in him like a broken record. I underestimated him, and now he is right here, he thought, unsure of where to hide his face. The authority he once wielded faded away, replaced by a silent respect that could only be understood by the growing weight of his own recent actions. His colleagues felt the change in the air, each reacting to the arrival of the new chief in distinct ways. Where there had been whispers, there was now a respectful analysis of the calm and dignified leader that Mateus demonstrated himself to be. Alan, caught in the midst of these abrupt events, finally understood the depths of his failure and the desperate need for reconciliation. This was not just a shock to his career, but a revelation. Mateus addressed the officers with a confident tone and a gaze of equality. Alan, digesting his new understanding of authority and humility, faced the chances for redemption emerging from Mateus's clear vision. This confrontation showed him the transcendent roots of prejudice and opened the way to understand the undeniable, personal impact of intolerance. In that look from Mateus, Alan realized that behind every established leadership and authority, there lies a chance for transformation and growth. When Mateus stood before the station, his presence exuded a calm confidence that commanded everyone's attention. His voice, unlike those abrupt routine commands, was a melody of firmness and inclusion. We are here to work together, respecting diversity and fulfilling our duty with justice, he declared, his eyes sweeping the room, absorbing the entrenched cultural tension and offering a bridge for dialogue and transformation. His speech, bathed in warm determination, made each officer present reconsider their own norms. Mateus emphasized his commitment against racism and discrimination, with an empathy that cut like a sharp blade. He understood that true authority did not lie in imprisoning or instilling fear, but in building alliances, fostering growth and evolution. This man, once viewed with suspicion, was now guiding hopes toward a sacred reciprocity. Alan listened intently, the weight of his actions reverberating like almost personal lessons in Mateus's words. In each word, he found pieces of his own doubts, the crumbs of the network for justice and equality strongly demanded by his introspective stance, awakening not only respect, but the understanding that this was now his chance to embrace change. In this overarching desire for change, the path was paved not only by the After Mateus's speech, Alan was struck by a deep introspection. Encouraged by a colleague who knew him well, he decided to confront the reality he had tried to ignore. I need to apologize. Mateus deserves this, and I need it for my own conscience, Alan pondered as he approached his new chief. He now felt the weight of his actions like a heavy cloak, but he was determined to transform it into a catalyst for change. Upon encountering Mateus in the hallway, Alan spoke. "Mr. Mateus, I want to apologize for yesterday. I behaved in an unforgivable manner," he declared sincerely. Mateus, with years of practice in offering understanding and forgiveness, looked deeply into Alan's eyes, allowing the words to sink in. "The past is something we learn to improve upon, Alan. What matters is what you choose to be from now on," Mateus replied, his tone a mix of inspiration and teaching. In this exchange, Alan discovered that freedom is not just a given, but a deliberate choice in the face of discrimination and prejudice. He felt a weight being lifted as Mateus shook his hand in a sign of reconciliation. Taking on responsibilities like these, scars emerged as healed wounds that led to a new form of leadership he now aspired to. And so, with renewed empathy, Alan realized that the true challenge was not changing his beliefs, but adapting and consistently seeking real wisdom along the ongoing path of reconciliation. After that encounter, Alan and Mateus became not only colleagues, but also participants in a broader relationship of respect and mutual learning. In the days that followed, Alan applied the lessons learned from their moment of confrontation, adjusting his perspective. With humble practice and an open mind, he recognized that he had made mistakes, and they were not few, but he also understood that each mistake carried with it the opportunity for redemption and the overcoming of past prejudices. The changes were subtle, yet essential. He engaged in tasks that had previously caused reluctance, finding opportunities to marginalize systemic discrimination while expanding his horizons to include traditionally silenced voices. Together with Mateus, Alan devised strategies and outlined new initiatives that reinforced the idea of equality both inside and outside the station. The community noticed, with each action, that even in the darkest corners of inequality, a growing light emerged with persistent strength. Both understood that real power lies in the willingness to learn from challenges and the courage to embrace difference as an opportunity for growth. Alan finally realized that true wisdom does not reside merely in the quick understanding of change, but in the consistency of subsequent actions. The relationship forged from this unusual scenario brought the promise of a better future, a stronger sense of identity for all, savoring not only evolution but the harmonious flourishing of that unique, diverse community in Jackson. Cris? Hey, you there, did you enjoy what you just read? If this story resonated with you in any way, why not share your thoughts with us? Let us know in the comments what inspired you the most. We love hearing your opinions and stories. And don't stop there, join our growing community. Click the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future content. By doing this, you help us continue bringing impactful and uplifting stories to you. We count on your support to spread this powerful message. And remember, every comment and subscription makes a difference. Let's work together to transform this space into something even more amazing.